established, who's going to introduce it?
I nominate Joe, our fearless leader.
Leader. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining. If you're out there, what our idea was basically to take the Nation Talks and make it a little more informal and genuine, and just get a group of people kind of talking and hanging out. And you know, we're going to do this starting on a bi-weekly schedule, and just see you know, where the conversation goes. We want to talk about not just Marketo news, but also just, you know, what challenges do we face as marketers. So as certain things like ABM become big buzzwords, we want to talk about that kind of thing. Web personalization, how to advance your own career, just basic stuff that any marketer can use and really be useful, and add this as something, just one other useful channel to the Marketo community. So with that, does anyone else want to add on that before we do a round of introductions?
I think you covered it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Yeah. So basically, we'll introduce ourselves real quick. This is mostly a group of Marketo champs and power users, or totally a group of Marketo champs and power users. My name is Joe Reitz. I'm a strategist at Fathom. Yeah, someone else.
I'm Rachel. I run growth and marketing operations at an ad tech company called TubeMogul.
I'll go next. I'm Jen. I'm a director of marketing for a software company for all of North America and a Marketo champ. So, yay.
Dory looks like she's still on mute. All right, Enrico, it's all you.
Hi, my name is Enrico. I am a senior manager of global strategic marketing for a pharmaceutical company, and I've been using Marketo for about 18 months.
And if Dory's mic, we'll get her online here in a minute, but she's Dory Viscogliosi, Marketo champion, I think like 9 times or something ridiculous. Her maiden name is Lord, which I think is kind of cool. And she's also one of the co-leaders for the New York user group. So, she says
yeah, should we talk about where we're all located?
Yeah, not a terrible idea. I'm in Chicago. Rachel?
I'm in the Bay Area, Emeryville, Oakland area.
Cool.
I'm in the Allentown area, just outside of Philly.
Austin, Texas.
And I'm in Times Square, Manhattan.
Yay!
It works.
Yes. And there's this magical little button that mutes my microphone. Yeah, that was on.
Well, you need
We're also missing Andy Kemp, so she will hopefully be joining us any minute.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the backstory to this whole group is all of us have you know, met through Summit, you know, Marketo's annual trade show expo.
Pilgrimage.
Yeah, pilgrimage is a great word. And really, it's one of those, the whole crew thing just came from, we didn't know anybody when we went. We all went alone. It's been an iron sharpens iron thing, so that's what we're trying to do on a broader platform. So basically using this to as a channel to do that for the whole community. So what we wanted to discuss today in our first episode ever was just some very basic Marketo community tips and best practices. So talking through things like, you know, how do you get value out of the community? How do you start a discussion? How do you start a discussion that gets answered, and where do you post, and that kind of logistical things. And then also, you know, maybe even how to advance your career through being involved and engaged in the community, because I think everybody on the line can attest to that being something that's happened to all of us to some degree. So with that, does someone want to kick us off on the topic of you know, where and how to post?
I'll start, I guess. I think before you even post, the important thing is to search the community. I know that's something that we've talked about a lot. There's a lot of stuff that's already in there, and sometimes you do have to dig through it a lot. But I'd say before you actually started to go post something, search for it, because a lot of times it's already been covered in extreme detail with like bulleted lists of how to do things, and that's kind of how I actually learned how to use Marketo, was from all that stuff already in the community. So I think that's important. Step number one.
I'm going to piggyback on that, and I'm going to say that knowing where to post is also a really big deal. You know, we have the opportunity to join like Marketo user groups or whatever, and there are private groups that, you know, with a lot of really great people, great resources. Just know that if you post within those private groups, you won't be able, other people outside of those groups won't be able to find your content. So if you're looking for general information from the entire Marketo community, try to post in a public space instead of within those private groups.
And I think Dory had a very special PSA on behalf of Sanford Whiteman and Gregoire Michel.
No, I think it all just goes back to making sure that you're searching, and you know, a lot of times also being able to really articulate your question is going to be super helpful. You know, I find this probably more with support, Marketo support, than in the community. But make sure that when you post your question, you're really highlighting, you know, every detail of your question, and also what your goal is, so that you are able to get the fastest and most thorough response from people within the community.
Yeah. I would say, dovetailing on all that, pictures help a lot. Like
Screenshot.
Yeah, screenshots when you're showing advanced flow steps and trying to figure out, like, you can tell me what you're trying to do, but I can't really diagnose it if I can't see it, because a lot gets lost in translation between Marketo and English, so, or whatever. So the more visual you can be is probably the better. And then you know, like was said, posting to the Champions area probably seems like a good idea, because you think these are all the power users, so someone here is going to answer. But in reality, there's only 60 people with access to that at any given time. So, well, 60 current champions. So the odds of one of us picking that up and answering it, relatively low. So it's generally better to put it in products or discussion, whatever it is. And then if it is a discussion, an open-ended discussion, mark it like that, so it's not, you know, there's no correct answer and that kind of thing, so it doesn't percolate to the wrong area, I guess.
I think one of the big things for me is, can you hear me first off?
Yeah.
I had to mute myself because I felt like a mouth breather. So I think one of the most intimidating things is community is such a big group, and that's why that searching and looking through the product documents is very important before you start asking those questions. But I also like to look at things from a community side. So I tend to follow friends or people that I've met or people that I've trusted with the information that they've been posting in the community itself. So I started following them, getting reminders. Sometimes it's nice to be a little bit proactive and reading on issues that you may have not encountered yet. So that's what I've been doing in the community.
Cool.
Yeah, actually, I actually start my day with the community. If I know, I do a lot of things with Marketo as well as outside of Marketo, so my days aren't always just Marketo, but if I know that it's going to be a Marketo heavy day, I generally start within the community and look at just the discussions in each area. So, you know, ideas or products or whatever, and I see what the latest posts are, and I also look at what the latest activity is on maybe some old posts and stuff, because you never know when somebody's going to come through with a really awesome solution that has to do with something that maybe got put on your back burner, or that you know, read through and realize that, hey, we also have that same issue and need to figure out how to use that as well. So like I said, I start my day with the community and just click through some things, reading through things. I know that it takes a lot of time. Like, you could spend all day in the community and not even brush the surface. But it's a great way for me to start my day and just like see what's going on in the Marketo world.
Yeah, and piggybacking on that, I've also downloaded the Jive app to to jump in and look at the community on the go. Even if it doesn't pertain to me, sometimes there will be an idea or a thread that somebody that I'm following will comment on, and when it's useful, read it, bookmark it, do that, and learn from that, I guess.
Yeah. What's since we have two user group leaders on the phone, what's kind of been everyone's experience with their own local user group, good or bad?
New York is struggling. I think we've had some challenges with getting some meetings on the calendar, and I know, Joe, you posted about locations, and I think everyone's, I think it's a little bit of a hard time of year in the summer, and I recently took over just before Summit, and so we haven't really had a chance to get something on the calendar yet, but we are actively trying to get something scheduled and have a decent turnout. But I know that it has been successful in the past. It's just a matter of kind of reigniting that flame.
Yeah. As far as, someone else can.
Go for it, Joe.
Tell you, Joe.
I don't want to dominate. As far as like format and stuff, like what have you guys found to be the most useful? I'm just gonna steal this for Chicago.
So I've only been to one user group. I'm in actually a really cool location because there's 3 user groups that are within driving distance of me. So at any given time, it might take me an hour to get to one. So there's the San Mateo user group, the San Francisco user group, and the East Bay user group. I've only been to one group meeting, and I think that part of the problem and the reason that that's happened is because I know that there was another user group that meeting for San Francisco that happened, I think, right after Summit, and I missed the user group. I missed the announcement because either I wasn't registered for notifications or I didn't have the event on my calendar. I didn't even know that it was happening. So I would really encourage the user group leaders to don't just post it once. Maybe remind people in the group that there is something happening. I know that a lot of times, I know that community events are, if you're subscribed to an event or you're following an event, then it's easy to follow. But it's, I missed the event altogether, so that was kind of a bummer. But the one that I went to, we had kind of just a roundtable discussion. We were in San Francisco. We had a topic, so somebody was presenting, and we had. I think that we were talking about real-time personalization or something like that, and it was interesting because the conversation centered around that, but there were a lot of other topics that got brought up just within conversation. A lot of us in the group had only been using Marketo for a few months at that point, so it was really great to hear other people's user experiences, what the hot, that was the first time that I'd heard the term ABM, and so I was able to, go back and look that up, and now my company is implementing ABM. So there's just a lot of stuff. I'd say I liked the fact that it was guided, so we did have a specific topic that we were talking about, but that there was the opportunity to veer away from that topic and ask questions about other things if necessary.
Yeah. So it was a little bit more like a breakout session with roundtable. What do you call that with roundtables? That there's a breakout session within the breakout session.
Yeah, it was like we had, you have one presenter. So it actually happened to be Jessica Cross. For those of you who don't know Jessica, she is she's active within Marketo. She's on, follow her on Community. She has great things to say. But she was presenting. I think about personalization and stuff, and then she kind of would bring up something about advertising and how they track advertising in Marketo, and then people would ask questions, and some of us had no idea what some of the acronyms were, and it was a safe spot to ask questions without being judged for, I guess, my ignorance at the time.
Yeah, and I think that's the point of the not community group, the user group, is to create that safe zone that's, because at some point, every job I've ever had, it's after you pass that first 2-month threshold, you feel like you're past the point where you can ask a question and it'd be okay if it's a dumb question. HubSpot sent out I don't know if anyone saw it the other day, they sent out acronym guide. It was kind of like the marketer's guide to common acronyms you should know. And the guide was really dumb, but it was like they had stuff on there like CMO. Like, if you don't know what a CMO is and you're in this game, I don't know what you're doing. But, you know, like stuff like that, like, it's a stupid example, but like if you have a question that you feel you're going to get made fun of for asking, the user groups are meant to be that safe place to do that, and it's not with people you report to or work with or yeah.
I kind of think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go Dory. Go Dory.
I was just going to say, I kind of think of it as an extenuation, like a continuation of the community, but in real time, sort of. So it gives you that opportunity to talk to people and like-minded people who have, you know, similar roles and maybe are experiencing similar challenges or have had similar successes, and you can use their experiences and learn from their wins. And I mean, I one of my favorite things to share about are things where we've screwed up, because you know, if I can prevent someone or help someone from making the same mistakes that I have, hey, that's a win in my book.
Sure.
What I was going to say actually was, I just blinked out. No, thinking about ATX user group, I think the way that this group here currently on the call, everyone wears a bunch of different hats. So a lot of times I have the best of intents to participate in a user group, and the last 4 I haven't been able to go. And one of the great things, Jason is the head of our user group in Austin. He will post presentations from that user group so that we'll post a presentation from that user group so that you can catch up and take advantage of that user group even if you're not there. So maybe that's something personal to the Austin group, but I really do appreciate that. So that's a good way to take a look at your user group in the community and see if they're posting any information or additional questions after that.
Yeah, I'm going to also say that, so for those of you who are worried about losing employees, put on your earmuffs, but we started our group conversation with, it was kind of one of those situations where it was like, who here is hiring? Who's hiring somebody to run, you know, any sort of Marketo, who has a marketing ops position open? You know, a few people raised their hands, you know, with openings at their companies. And then the next question was, who here might be looking for a new job or looking for new opportunities or whatever. And so you know, and they don't talk about that right in, you know, in the middle of the group, but, you know, the kind of message was, hey, like, look around the table, see who raised their hands, and, you know, go chat with them afterwards, because we had kind of a happy hour thing afterwards where you could just socialize with people, talk to them, you know, say hi, get to know people. So there's, you know, there was that element too. Like, if you are looking for a new job or your company is hiring, I mean, at that time we weren't hiring a new position, we had just hired somebody to come in as, you know, a senior manager on my team. But, you know, a few weeks beforehand, that would have been great. We would have been able to, you know, I would have been able to say that we have an opening and, you know, gotten somebody there who, you know, has experience with Marketo, because at the time we were hiring people such as myself who didn't have Marketo experience. So it's just, you know, it's a great way to build your team as well.
Yeah, that's definitely been something I've encountered, that if you're looking for Marketo expertise, especially depending on what market you're in, even in big cities like Chicago, it's really hard to find. I mean, I don't know what the exact count of certified experts is nationwide, and that'd be really interesting just to know. But finding that level of expertise is hard and rare, and it's, you know, to your point, from a recruiting standpoint, that's almost like an excellent place, breeding ground. I don't know what you want to call it, but recruiting pool. We're gonna make Jen talk.
Oh. What shall I talk about? Well, so as far as my user group meetings, I've only been to a couple because they're right in Philadelphia. And I'm so far outside the city that getting there and back with our traffic is not a good time. So I only tend to go if they're outside the city.
Yeah. Well, and that's
a virtual user group. Some
Yeah.
of the virtual user group might be a little bit more convenient for that.
Yeah, I looked into that, and I was thinking about starting one up because actually, since it is getting to the meetings, at least my office recently moved closer to the city, so it might be easier now, but in the past it was too difficult.
There's not currently a whatever you called it, Dory, virtual user group, is there?
I think there's at least one. Don't quote me on it, but I want to say that Liz had started up at least one.
Yeah. Well, I know there was some
They're topics based though. Like I'm not like.
Yeah, there's one
yeah.
for higher ed. I know that. Yeah. Well, anyway, changing tack a little bit. I mentioned earlier how just being involved in Marketo Community has had a lot of career implications for those of us on the line. Jen, why don't you tell the story about how we met Edward Unthank and asked him how we can has champions?
Well, basically, we started following him around like little fangirls at Summit 2014 and asked him how to get involved. And he basically said just become embarrassingly involved in the community, which is what we did. And next year we were also champions. So now we get to interact with him at events at Summit.
Still a fanboy. And I saw Andy signed on.
Andy!
Hi, guys. I'm just updating my lower thirds. I just got out of a meeting. Very sorry. It ended with lots of jokes, and I was like, oh, it's so funny. I gotta go. So, hi.
So the quick recap for you, Andy, is we talked a little bit about where and how to post in the community, a little bit about our experiences with user groups, and we are now parking on how being shamelessly involved in the Marketo community per Edward Unthank's sage advice circa 2014 or 2015?
2015, I think.
Yeah, how that basically has been an on-ramp to a lot of cool new things for a lot of us.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Oh, it's not working. Andy, do you have any tips about searching in the community, posting in public spaces, or anything?
Research before you post, because more likely than not, someone's already posted it. And I'm guilty of it, so I can't be like, oh, those people are so obnoxious. I've done it a million times, which is why I would give that as the advice, is because I will always post something and someone's like, oh, here, read this. This one has a million different answers in it. So normally what happens is when you have a question, someone else probably had that question and it's probably already answered, so make sure to do your research first. But people are always very nice and will direct you to the right answers more than likely. So that's the first thing that comes to mind.
Hey, Dory, what about a PSA on respect?
Me?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, Dory.
No, okay, people tell me at work that I'm a bully, so I don't know if I'm the best respect PSA giver. But look, I'm probably guilty of being a little short sometimes.
Figuratively and literally.
Yeah, you know. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. But you know, I think that if there are, especially if there have been like a lot of other questions that are exactly the same as yours, you're going to get people in the community who are going to be like, just search it. You know, there's no let me Google that for you in the community, but essentially, kind of would give you the equivalent of that.
Well, and with that, like, we were talking a little earlier how docs.marketo.com as like
that's right.
very basic first stop of like,
Mhm.
hey, I don't know how to do this. Let me educate myself. That I wish it was integrated in the community a little better, but yeah, I mean that's a great point just around. If you can't search it on the community, you can't find what you need. Go to docs.marketo. Or actually, what I usually do is I go to docs.marketo and then search the community. But I don't do that because I'm a consultant and I never need to ask questions.
Right, of course.
No, so
You
if
know all
anyone
the
has
things.
any questions, email Joe at.
Well, I think where Rachel was going with that was, the thing we love about Dory is she's very, she'll call you out. And etiquette in the community is something that, doesn't cost you anything. But I think we were all thinking of one example where that happened, and it was fine. But, I mean, just a very basic. Now she's laughing. Now she gets it.
Now I know which one you're talking about.
Look, it's basically a two-way street. If you go in there and you just are not prepared and you just start asking a bunch of questions and then you don't interact with the people that are giving you those answers, imagine how you would feel if you were on the other side of it. So I know for me it's an intimidation thing. I sometimes am concerned. I've gone and searched. I still can't find anything pertinent to what I'm asking. I fear that I'm going to go in there and ask a question and then just get shut down. And, thankfully I have the people in my crew to ask and see and double check. But here's the thing, and I encountered this at Summit a lot. There are just so many people in there that are new or that just don't understand specific things in Marketo. That's fine. If you're that intimidated like I am, tweet me, direct message me, and I'll see if I can figure something out, or at least second you or back you up on that on the community. That's fine. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, even as a new user, try to do your due diligence and the research, and then be grateful or be reciprocal in the actions that are given to you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Josh Hill or Gregoire have there's a post somewhere on community about getting started within the community and best practices within the community, and a lot of what we're saying is reflected in there as well. So if you're just getting started in the community, definitely give that a look and see, figure out, what tips and tricks you can get from there, because Josh Hill and Gregoire are two people who have been in the community for years, so they definitely know what they're talking about. They have great expertise, and they'll be able to help you. That's a great guide for getting started. So good place to start.
And two things that we can't get off the thing without addressing is, one, Greg needs to make a video saying how we should pronounce his name, because I just want to know.
How have you guys been saying it?
$10 on Gregory.
I say Gregoire.
Greg.
I say Gregoire.
I think Gregoire.
See,
Gregoire.
that's the thing. I grew up in Louisiana, and I think it should be Gregoire Michel.
So,
But he needs to get on one of these with us and let us know.
Well, he signs his posts with Greg.
Yeah,
So,
I'm going with Greg.
yeah, that's what I do. I do.
Also, no offense intended. I know how it feels to have your name mispronounced.
Well, and
I just got kicked out of my conference room. Sorry. Keep going.
I forget where I was. I was going to make a horrible dad joke. It's fine.
This holy joke.
Yeah. But the other thing is, so between the two absolutely most active people in the community at any given time are Greg and Sanford. They both pretty regularly, we'll say, admonish people to post in the right place and not put it in the Champions thing, put it in products where it belongs.
Even though you'll be in occasional ability, I'm always still here. So,
but sorry, Andy.
Andy is taking us on a tour of her office.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Ms. Library.
But yeah, just to save them an aneurysm, post in the right spot. But I think we're basically at time, so I want to be respectful of everyone's time and get off while it's still cool. But we're going to be doing one of these, I think, every 2 weeks, right? And we want to start addressing some topics people want to hear about, whether it's ad bridge or RTP or ABM, especially as that new product comes available. Orion, whatever. I mean, think of this like the short-term fix for the Summit drug. I don't think that was a safe for work reference, was it?
It's like, I need it.
But yeah, so once again, I'm Joe Reitz, and we have Rachel Egan, Jen DiMaria, Enrico De Leon. Am I saying your last name right, Enrico?
I don't know at this point.
Yeah. After that whole thing about pronouncing Greg, whatever. Dory Viscogliosi and Andy Kempf, and this has been a Krewe Chat. You guys.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.